Hello and welcome to Verdict 2012. I'm Bilal Zaidi with all the election buzz from Gujarat Assembly polls. First up, a look at the headlines. Central Election Committee of Congress meets to finalize candidates for Gujarat polls. List of nominees to be out soon. Nomination process yet to gain steam. 17 candidates, including nominees of BSP, SP and independents, filed papers today. Congress NCP alliance to remain intact in Gujarat. State Congress Chief Mudwadia says seat sharing deal to be finalized soon. Well, the campaign is picking up in Gujarat. Top leaders of the Congress met today to finalize party strategy for the Gujarat elections. The poll process in the state has started with the Election Commission's notification for the first phase of polling. The Central Election Committee of the Congress met at 10 Janpa today. The leaders discussed in detail the campaign strategy for the two-phase polling in the state. The party also took stock of ticket seekers before it finalizes the list of candidates. Nomination for the first phase of polling closes on the 24th of November. The meeting was chaired by Sonia Gandhi and attended by other senior leaders. Sonia Gandhi virtually launched the party's campaign with a huge farmers' rally in Rajkot recently. The party has so far been highlighting local development issues while targeting the Narendra Modi government. And joining us for more on the developments from New Delhi is Vishal Daya. Vishal, just give us a sense of what really is happening largely, behind the scenes in terms of the challenges that the Congress party really faces in terms of finding the right candidates.
Well, it is a very, detailed process in the Congress party, Bilal, when it comes to choosing candidates for assembly elections or be it the general elections, the Lok Sabha elections as well. Generally, when it comes to the assembly elections, there is, first of all, a screening committee which, gets all the names of the interested candidates and all the suggestions of, who can be a candidate from the Congress party for the Congress party from a particular seat. And then after the screening committee has, got down to at least 2 to 3 names per seat, those names are then forwarded to the Central Election Committee of the party. Now, Central Election Committee is headed by the Congress President. It has Prime Minister also as its member and several other senior leaders, obviously, leaders belonging to the state as well as head of the screening committee and all that. Now, this particular Central Election Committee takes a final call, decides as to who is going to be the Congress party's candidate from X, Y or Z seat. Now, this time around in case of Gujarat, this was the second meeting of CEC. It is going to be really, really important for the Congress party to go ahead and announce this list as soon as possible because 24th, as you rightly pointed out, is the last date to file nominations for the first phase of assembly elections in Gujarat. In first phase, 87 assembly seats are going for polls, and it is just 3 days left. What we are being told by our sources in the party is that in today's Central Election Committee meeting, the party seems to have finalized at least the names of at least 50 odd candidates, and those names will be out pretty soon. After that, there might be another list of candidates, remaining candidates for the first phase of assembly elections.
All right, Vishal, also in terms of, looking at the situation on the ground there, one of the major challenges that the party really faces is infighting. Who really to back, who are the people to really give tickets to, which camp to really play for. At this point in time, we're getting a sense that perhaps the Congress party is trying to really, bridge away all these distances and go ahead as a united front. What are you hearing on that front?
Well, Bilal, the turf war within the party and, amongst the senior leadership at the state level or even at the local level as well is at its peak during the ticket distribution time, and this is exactly that particular time when the candidates are to be decided. So obviously, there are going to be positives and negatives for every name which will crop up in the Central Election Committee meeting on a particular seat, and that is why it seems sometimes in Congress party, it takes a lot of time to go ahead and take a final decision as to who will be the candidate. We saw this in Himachal Pradesh as well. There were certain seats wherein the candidates were finalized in the last few days, and there were certain seats wherein the candidates were finalized, but then their names were changed at the last moment. And this time around, one round has already taken place of the CEC on Gujarat. This was the second round, and still we are being told that the first list might only comprise of 50 names. Obviously, a clear indication that there are several factors at play before a candidate can be finalized by the party's senior leadership.
In fact, Vishal, you just mentioned Himachal Pradesh there. We understand that while there is a clear consensus on who really could be the chief ministerial candidate there in terms of Veerbhadra Singh, but for the Congress party, once again, in terms of the policy, no announcements made. Any consensus on who really could be the face of the party in Gujarat?
Well, there comes in, Bilal, the standard reply from the Congress leaders, and that is that the practice within the Congress party seems to be that the name is the name of a chief ministerial candidate, or even a prime ministerial candidate is not decided before the elections. It's rather decided after the elections, once the elected MLAs meet, and then but they choose their leader, or it is being left to the wisdom of the Congress president or the central high command of the party to go ahead and take a decision on as to who should be the leader of the legislative party. That seems to be the entire process out here. Yes, in case of Himachal Pradesh, there were certain projections indirectly, though not directly, from the party leaders. And Veerbhadra Singh, being the senior most leader, was seen in that particular role. He was the chief minister of the state for the sixth time in the past. But if you're talking about Gujarat out here, there is no certain no such projection as of now out here, and it is highly unlikely that Congress party will go ahead and announce its chief ministerial candidate at this stage.
All right, Vishal, they are there with all the details. We'll have to keep an eye on all the names that really start emerging in terms of the candidates for the Congress party in Gujarat, and as well as other parties as well. But we're talking about the Congress party. The Congress and the NCP are yet to reach an agreement over seat sharing in Gujarat. But as the last day for nomination for the first phase, of course, draws near, the two sides are getting flexible. NCP was earlier demanding to contest on 22 seats, but now there are indications that perhaps they may just scale it up. Gujarat Congress Chief Arjun Madhwadia hopes an agreement will be reached soon.
हमारा उसके साथ गठबंधन है। 2007 के विधानसभा के चुनाव में भी हम साथ में मिलकर लड़े थे, और इस दफा भी हमारी कोशिश ये है कि एक उसके साथ गठबंधन बना के लड़े, लेकिन सीटों पर कुछ सहमति आज तक नहीं बनी है। हमारे जो राष्ट्रीय नेतृत्व है उस पर विचार कर रहा है, और मैं उसके लिए आशावादी हूँ कि कुछ न कुछ रास्ता।
Well, the nomination process in Gujarat is yet to gain momentum, as major political parties like the BJP and Congress are yet to come out with their lists of candidates. 17 nominees, including candidates from BSP, SP and independents, have finally filed their nomination today. The CPM has also decided to contest 10 seats in the state. The BSP and SP candidates have started filing their nominations. Nearly 30 nominations have been filed so far. Most of those who have filed their nomination are independents. BJP and the Congress are expected to come up with their list shortly, as Saturday is the last day for filing of nominations. On to the BJP in Gujarat now. As Gujarat gears up for polls, Chief Minister Narendra Modi and Gujarat Parivartan Party President Keshubhai Patel are going all out to get the support of the RSS cadre in the state. Having come out of the BJP fold, Keshubhai recently formed the GPP to challenge Narendra Modi. But Narendra Modi recently visited the Sangh headquarters in Nagpur and met Mohan Bhagwat. He also discussed Gujarat affairs with the Chief Minister. But Keshubhai Patel is also supposed to have a large number of his supporters among the Sangh's cadre in the state of Gujarat. Both Modi as well as Keshubhai Patel have had a long association with the RSS. While Modi rose to the Chief Minister's chair from being an RSS pracharak, Keshubhai has been associated with the Sangh since childhood. Modi has had a few run-ins with the Sangh in recent times. Modi's detractors in the state are extending silent support perhaps to Keshubhai Patel as per reports. Interestingly, Keshubhai and Modi were close till 1995, and when the BJP assumed power, Narendra Modi was seen as an important factor. But after Narendra Modi replaced Keshubhai, the Sangh threw its weight behind him in the 2002 elections. It was only later that Keshubhai accused Modi of overlooking the Patel community, which has a considerable following in Saurashtra, areas around Kutch, and some areas in South Gujarat as well. And joining us for more on this is senior journalist Mahua Chatterjee. Thanks a lot for joining us here. Mahua, what, according to you, would really, how is this entire equation expected to play out? We understand that, especially recently, there have been a lot of talk around, friction between Narendra Modi and, bodies around the Sangh, including the cadre of RSS.
Well, these are not, you're absolutely right that there have been reports of, frictions between them. But the point is, this is not the first time that it's happening. Every time there is, even during the last elections or the one before that, it was maybe the last elections even more. The equations between Narendra Modi and Sangh have not been really great for a long time, and these do crop up when election times come, because as we all know, BJP, in some ways, in most of the states that it holds government in and fights important election, the Sangh cadres do provide for a lot of footwork for their electioneering. And but what has happened over the years in Gujarat is that Modi has sort of taken things under his control, almost like a one-man army, and he's the commander of the forces of which way the BJP will go in his state, whether it's in governance or in electoral politics, whether it's a municipal election or an assembly election or the Lok Sabha elections. Therefore, these frictions have been there, and but even while the frictions are there, it's not really expected to hurt the BJP's or Narendra Modi's results in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If his numbers do come down, I would say that a certain amount of anti-incumbency may have creeped in,
okay,
which is quite possible. But I don't see really the Sangh impacting it too much.
Fair enough. Fair enough. How do you read the Keshubhai factor here? We understand that Keshubhai per se.
Yes. The Keshubhai factor has been talked about for a while now, for the past few months. And this time around, Keshubhai has managed to, muster up a bit of his own people, his own setup, and therefore it is being seen as working against Modi. But even then, working in most cases, in most states we have seen, even where, big people who were big leaders earlier sort of came out of the party and started their own outfits and tried to take on the BJP,
yes,
have not really succeeded. History...
yes, of course. Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh,
yes. And so I don't see any different happening in Gujarat, really.
All right, Mahua Chatterjee there giving us her inputs in terms of how she really reads the emerging equations in the state of Gujarat. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we have more ground reports coming out of Gujarat. Keep watching.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of To The Point.
When the nation's opinion makers articulate, India stops and listens. Political grandstanding,
Azadi does not mean freedom from India. Social democracy is dead.
hard-hitting revelations,
People are quite fed up.
60% facts are wrong.
powerful interventions,
Ban forward trading.
Come to court and court has to take a stand.
To the point. Views that make news. Only on Rajya Sabha television.
Whether you're an investor, a consumer, an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants to understand economic policy a little better.
I'm increasingly becoming a skeptic of Davos.
The government should actually issue inflation index plan.
The governor had too many choices because liquidity was tight.
We need this budget to be making a real strong statement.
This is the show to watch.
Catch Policy Watch every Saturday 10 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let us now take you across to the district on Navsari in our special segment, In Focus. Now, Navsari has a large Parsi Zoroastrian community, academicians and political leaders like Dr. Dadabhai Naoroji, and of course the founder of the Tata Group of Companies, Mr. Jamshedji Tata, were born there. Tata's birthplace still preserved as a memorial by the local branch of Tata Steel factory in the outskirts of the city. Take a look at this report.
Navsari district is situated on the Arabian coastline at the southern border of Gujarat. Dudhiya Talao is a major market area here with a shopping centre. Navsari district is based on textiles, diamond, sugar industry, agro and food processing, paper, engineering and chemicals industries.
Not much. In fact, Navsari is famous and it sets an example where it is intermingling of different castes and creeds and religions. These people stay in Navsari, Parsis, Muslims, Hindus. They stay in a very secular way in the Navsari.
The district has 4 assembly constituencies: Jalalpur, Navsari, Gandevi and Bansda. The number of seats remains the same at 4. Bansda, reserved for the scheduled tribes, is the new seat in place of Chikhli. Gandevi is now reserved for the scheduled tribes, which was an open seat in the old delimitation. Navsari was also reserved for the scheduled tribes, but now is an open seat. In the 2007 polls, the BJP bagged all 4 assembly seats with a vote share of 69.8%, whereas the Congress had a vote share of 18.3%. In the 2009 Lok Sabha polls, however, BJP had a vote share of 49%, while Congress had a lead in 1 seat with a vote share of 44%. Water shortage and electricity problems in Gandevi and unemployment in the district remain issues that will feature in the elections. Though the main fight in the district is between the Congress and the BJP, Keshubhai Patel's newly formed Gujarat Parivartan Party could be a spoiler impacting the outcome.
While abundant sea waves and a splendid horticultural activity give a geographical flavor to Navsari, the history of communal harmony and dandy march give it a unique political identification. Now Navsari is trying to catch up with the industrial mainstream of Gujarat. For Rajya Sabha Television, Akhilesh Suman with camera person Raj Thakur.
And Rajya Sabha TV's correspondent Akhilesh Suman caught up with local leaders in Navsari and discussed the election issues there.
नवसारी के हर एक तालुके में पीने का पानी का प्रॉब्लम है। जो मुद्दे पे बीजेपी सत्ता में आई कि कांग्रेस पीने का पानी देने में निष्फल रही है और हमारा जो राज आएगा तो हम ये पीने का पानी की व्यवस्था करेंगे। बीजेपी वाले टोटल फेल हैं, 17 सालों से फेल हैं।
टिलवा साहब, आप बताएं कि अगर इस तरह की बात 17 साल बीजेपी के शासन के बाद और नरेंद्र भाई के इतने प्रचार के बाद अगर पीने के पानी पर आप नहीं कुछ कर पाए तो इसका मतलब है कि सरकार पिछले 11 साल में कुछ खास कर नहीं पाई। ऊपर सारे काम हुए, नीचे जमीनी स्तर पर कुछ काम नहीं हुआ।
यानी सरकार तब चलती है कि पूरा काम होता है। तो आज तक पब्लिक सब है वो एजुकेशन और पीपल्स ऐसे हो गए हैं कि जो काम करती सरकार है उसी को ही चाहती है।
पानी की समस्या तो है ही, लेकिन इसमें थोड़ा बहुत फेरफार हुआ है पहले से नरेंद्र भाई मोदी के राज, लेकिन वो कुछ नहीं कर पाए। इसमें
नरेंद्र मोदी की जितने जो दावे हैं वो अगर पूरी तरह झूठ पर आधारित है तो पिछले 17 साल से बीजेपी और पिछले 11 साल से नरेंद्र मोदी आखिर सरकार में हैं कैसे? आप जवाब दें।
नरेंद्र मोदी का जो नेतृत्व केशु भाई को टॉपल करके जो उसने ये गुजरात की गादी संभाली, तब से गुजरात में ये टेरर उत्पन्न हुआ है। कोई भी कार्यकर अपना आवाज इंडिपेंडेंटली निकाल नहीं सकते, चाहे वो बीजेपी का हो, कांग्रेस का हो, कोई भी पार्टी का हो। जो सच लगता वो सच बोलने में भी हिचकिचाहट होता है।
लेकिन जिस तरीके से दावे करते हैं आपकी पार्टी या आपके नेता नरेंद्र मोदी भी दावे करते हैं, लगता है कि उसमें उतना दम नहीं है जितना प्रचार है।
वास्तविक में दम है। वास्तविक में काम 17 सालों में जो हुआ है वो बहुत तेजी से काम हुआ है।
शिक्षण में तो अभी डोनेशन सिस्टम आ गई है। पहले कांग्रेस के राज में शिक्षण मुफ्त था। कोई भी आदमी 200 रुपये 300 रुपये फी भरकर अपना शिक्षण लेता था। गरीब आदमी भी पढ़ सकता था, आदिवासी भी पढ़ सकता था, सब पढ़ सकते थे। लेकिन आज के टाइम में 1 लाख, 1.5 लाख, 2 लाख रुपए डोनेशन बगैर एडमिशन मिलता नहीं है।
मैं ऐसा समझता हूं कि नरेंद्र मोदी का जो विजन है ना, शायद ही किसी के पास ऐसा विजन होगा जो काम करने का और काम लेने का दोनों बात उसमें है। आज लाइट होवे, रास्ता होवे, पानी होवे, सब में इतनी प्रगति है कि सब राज्यों को उसने पीछे छोड़ दिया।
कांग्रेस पार्टी के आप नेता हैं, आपके हिसाब से क्या नरेंद्र भाई मोदी ने आप केंद्र सरकार की योजनाएं थी उससे ज्यादा कुछ किया है?
उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं किया है। सर्व शिक्षा अभियान जो है, शिक्षण के बड़े बड़े ओरडे बनवाए हैं, हाई स्कूल लगवाई है, ये सब केंद्र के पैसे है। रोड का जो है प्रोग्रेस वो केंद्र सरकार की योजना है। पीने का पानी की स्कीम है वो केंद्र सरकार की स्कीम है।
Time for a short break now. Lots more from Gujarat on the other side.
Killer sea waves have wiped out villages across the coastline.
You have to walk up to a distance of about 10 kilometers as what we are doing.
Huge landmass is already under the sea. How has this climatic phenomena impacted the livelihoods of millions of people? Watch our special report on the coast in crisis only on Rajya Sabha television.
Hello and welcome to State of the Economy, a show that connects you with prominent policymakers and thinkers.
Basically begin to focus on democratization of information.
Is doing a better job on the revenue front. Trust begets trust, and you have to do it step by step, brick by brick.
Economy is something which cannot grow with a non-functional government.
But now again, apparently real estate prices are booming because that's where a lot of money laundering is taking place.
Aadhaar becomes a financial address.
State of the Economy, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Now, Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi lays claim to development as his main pole plank. But some experts feel the growth in the state has been lopsided. IIM Professor Anil Gupta says the state's growth story is not new and that despite development in infrastructure, Gujarat lags behind in crucial human development indexes. Listen in.
That Gujarat has been growing for a long time, at least for 20 years. And thanks to the convergence of infrastructure policies, thanks to the convergence of industrial training institutions which provided trained workforce, thanks to the liberal no-frills policy for inviting investments and getting them fast-track, there has been, Gujarat has been a destination for a long time for people who believe in entrepreneurial culture and who would wish to have non-interfering bureaucracy. So in that sense, growth is certainly there and we must be proud of it. But it is not something which has happened just in the last 10 years. Last 10 years have added to it and have improved infrastructure enormously, have maybe made the decision making faster. So that could have contributed to it. So when it comes to malnutrition, when it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to livelihood, we still have a problem, and serious problem. When it comes to ecological balance, when it comes to sustainability, the way we use groundwater and the decline in groundwater table in the state, we have one of the worst parameters in health. There have been some improvements, for example, in delivery of children. There has been a wonderful program where private sector was roped in delivering, having institutional deliveries, and that brought down the maternity mortality and also child mortality during birth. So there has been some improvement in that portion. But when it comes to overall health parameters, we haven't done much. Education, awful. Both the quality of school education and the quality of college education, terrible. And there's no reason why it can't be improved. Now look at it from the point of view of how growth could be more inclusive. So for instance, the milk revolution, which made this state popular, also made it imperative somehow for the people not to keep milk at home for children. So every drop of milk was sold. And the result is that a lot of children grew up on tea rather than milk. And I wrote about this issue in '84 in a paper, Why Poor Don't Cooperate, and had a long debate with NDTV at that time, suggesting them that they should think about local consumption, local distribution as well, not just buying milk and giving it to urban areas. Somehow they didn't pay attention at that time. They're not paying much attention either, even now. But there's some effort to now correct this. Similarly, when it comes to agriculture, Gujarat has had spectacular growth of cotton, BT cotton, from 30 lakh bales 6-7 years ago, 8 years ago, to 110 lakh bales, more than 3 times production.
That's all that we have for you in this edition of Verdict 2012. Keep watching.